Welcome in, listeners. This is Margin Mavens, a podcast hosted by Steph and Kayla, where we share our thoughts on all things literature and storytelling. Today's episode is going to be a little different. We are joined today by Dusty, member of Rainbow Dice Club and one of the 3 members of the Tales of 3 podcast. Now, make sure to grab a snack and a drink. Unless you're driving, then remember 10 and 2 and come hang out with us while we dive in. So, first and foremost, Dusty, what are your pronouns?
My pronouns are they, she.
Solid. Okay.
Cool. Yes.
Um,
And y'all's?
Any is fine.
Okay.
she, her. I'm a simple bitch.
you sometimes just with pronouns.
Yeah. Okay. So Kayla has more experience than I do when it comes to D&D.
I do.
I don't know if you have any D&D specific questions you want to talk about first.
Not specific. Well, sort of specific to D&D, but specifically to Tales of 3. Like what led that? What caused that to come about? Especially as like 3 DMs that are also the PCs. Like how is that? Okay, this is maybe multiple questions. But like how did it happen? What was the thought process behind it? How do you stop like with 3 DMs, I imagine different styles of running games? Like how does that look like?
So first part of the question, I've been playing D&D/TTRPGs for 8 years now. And it's something that I love to do. And it was during COVID when everything went online and I was playing with a different group and I was just sitting there going, man, we're funny bitches. People would like to hear how funny we are. So I started a different project, which ultimately didn't end up working out, but Ariana was part of that project. So when that previous project didn't work out, she came to me and she was like, hey, I've been thinking about doing like a queer-based D&D project. And I was like, sign me the fuck up. Sorry, can I swear? I guess first off.
Have at it. Yeah, have at it.
I was like, sign me the fuck up. And so that's how Tales of 3 was born. We went out and looked for another incredible person, brought Wayra into the project, and then we've been going for 2 years now.
Nice.
It's been a good chunk. And it's been really fun. We continue to be funny bitches.
Yeah.
And we continue to mold the 3 different DM styles, because we really do have 3 different DM styles. Wayra's more on like the serious sort of dark and creepy. I also like dark and creepy, but I like punches of comedy in there. And then Ariana's more of like the light and fun bit of it.
Yeah.
So it really just rounds out the whole vibe and you get a good bit of everything when you listen.
Can confirm.
Yeah.
There was another part of that.
Not to interrupt you, but one of Kayla's things that she said today was literally, I was like, okay, how am I going to work on this script? Like normally we walk into it with a little bit more like understanding of what we're going to talk about and stuff like that. And Kayla goes, you know, I actually was listening to a couple of their episodes this week and like they're really funny. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm glad we didn't choose boring people.
Yeah,
the bloopers at the end get me every time because they're so typical of like when you play D&D. Like the episodes themselves are maybe like an hour long, but then like if you condense a D&D session into just the actual play, it's really only like an hour, maybe 2, and then the rest of the time is spent like goofing off and making inappropriate jokes.
I do the music for our episodes, and so my favorite bit is to get done with the music and then I save the bloopers for the end. It's like a little treat for myself to reminisce about all this stupid shit we've said. Like I think there's an aggregated like 30 minutes of just Dracula bits now that keep recurring every time we record. Somebody does something in a Dracula accent and it just snowballs from there.
I love that.
I think one of the bloopers early on is we did like a mock HelloFresh ad in the Dracula voice.
But like relating to blood, right? Like please tell me it's like blood bag.
It's like Hello Flesh.
Oh yes, love it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
So that is actually a very good way of describing that. It is just the aggregated like little bit of a
Yeah.
normal D&D session at the very end in the bloopers.
Yeah. And then you get the taste of like what everybody's like at the table sort of thing, which is really, really great because that really plays a role into how the story gets told, right? Like
Yes.
everybody brings their own little fun tidbits to the table. And if I have this correct, and please tell me if I'm wrong. You voice Ivy?
That is correct, yes.
Oh my god, chef's kiss. I'm only
Thank
3
you.
episodes in. I'm only 3 episodes in. I was like, I would ride or die for Ivy. 100%. All of them.
Listen, me too.
But also Ivy. Like there's just something so sweet about her so far. And I'm like, man, like I really need to find out what's going on. I need to keep listening.
She's genuinely so fun to play. I think she's like a more exaggerated version of how I want to be. This like so I describe her as the like bitchy lesbian. Obviously she's a lot more than that, but when you boil her down, like that's sort of like what I tell people. And she's just so much fun. The shit that comes out of her mouth surprises me sometimes.
That's the
We've
best
said
part.
before. Yeah, truly. We've said before that sometimes it's like we black out and come out of the other side of a scene and we're like, what just happened? We don't know actually.
I love it so much. So how let me see if I can think of this question in the right way because it's sort of related to like how did this come about, but like how did you decide this story was the one that you wanted to tell?
So this story has genuinely been a labor of love between the three of us. It had existed prior to the form that you're listening to now. And the three of us sat down and we were like, how can we flesh out the world? How can we make sure that it feels real, that it feels lived in, that it's interesting to listen to? Because that's the difference between playing at home and playing for an audience. We can think it's the most interesting story in the world, but everybody else has to as well. So we tackled it from that outside perspective of like, would somebody actually find this interesting, or do we need to pivot into a different direction? We need to have fun while we're playing it, but you need to have fun while listening to it. And from there, we would throw out little bits. We've got a Discord server the three of us are in where we talk and we do what we need to do, but we've also got a little section. I have to like actually see what it's called. Wackadoodle time, where we throw out these little bits that were like, this would be absolutely insane if we did this. And then another person would go, well, actually, what if we ground it a little bit, change it just a little bit, and we can go forward with this idea? And a lot has sprung forward from just these moments where we've talked back and forth. And we have basically the story kind of planned out. We've got the roadmap. You know, when you're writing a book, you've got the like spine or whatever. We've got that. How we get there is going to be determined by what the characters make, the dice rolls, and those type of things.
I love that. So you consider this more collaborative than like each PC, each DM has their own little like story to tell, and together you weave it into this
That is
one
correct.
overarching. Okay, that's cool.
And it's not even just like so. Like I haven't just written Ivy's storyline. Wayra and Ariana have also had input. Have also been like, this is where I see things going. What do you think? And I can shoot it down, or I can be like, yeah, let's. Sorry, I can shoot it down, or I can be like, yeah, let's keep going. And then I do the same for Varys, and I do the same for Alara. And it really just creates such an interesting like dynamic between these characters because there are things that the other person has thought about that I would never be able to think about.
Right.
Because I know Ivy inside and out, but I don't know Ivy from an outside perspective. I just know how she would react to things. And it's been nice to be able to be like, what would she do in this situation? And what would Alara do in that situation? What would Varys do in that situation? And it comes out with the most interesting things, I feel like.
Like, what would she do if she was sniffed randomly by a stranger?
That was all Ariana. I had no idea that was happening until it happened. And I was like, what? I know how I would react. And that's how Ivy
So great.
reacted. She
Oh,
freaked out.
yeah. Valid though. Valid.
Yeah.
Definitely valid. Steph, do you have
So as I guess the one that like I've never been able to complete a D&D campaign for
Mhm.
like logistic reasons, like
Oh god, yeah.
I was going to be part of my first one ever when I was still in college. I was part of a like not paraphrasing in the slightest, but it was literally called like Geek Club or something. And they were going to have a D&D night, and since I think like I went in asking to be secretary, they asked me to be the VP, right? I didn't think it was going to be a lot of responsibility because it's Geek Club. I wasn't expecting a lot.
You're so cute.
And the day, like the week of the D&D night, the person that was going to be one of the DMs like dropped, and it became like, hey, you who have never played are going to have to play, but as the DM. um Terrible experience. And I like I really feel for the people that were in it because they were also people that were trying to learn how to D&D, and I was like, guys, I'm not your girl for this. um
Blind leading the blind.
yeah, it really
Yeah.
it's a good allusion to what would become my actual career, teaching, when I have no idea what I'm doing half the time. um but so then I did that, and then I joined a friend's D&D group that was a really fun concept. It was like Pokemon and stuff like that, but I'm not ride or die for Pokemon. Like, I
Fair.
know a decent amount of it. I like the characters, but I'm not into like the lore of it all.
Mhm.
And so I couldn't find myself really like connected to that one. Um and then like just because of like time or logistics and stuff, I've never been able to finish one. And I've always wanted to. Like, I always have wanted to do a like October like murder mystery style one. Um
Yeah.
but I guess like I'm always curious, what are some like I don't know, like red lights, like things that cannot happen in the story for either personal preference or like it's just not going to work.
There are some elements that we absolutely will not touch on. And I think those are the normal sort of elements. Um, there are also some things personally, like I don't like graphic depictions of throwing up
It's fair.
or saliva or things of that nature. So we generally don't do those types of things. One of our players doesn't like eyeball stuff. Another
Mhm.
player doesn't like harm to animals. So we pivot. I create monsters that are not animal in the slightest. Um, so there are we utilize what's called a stoplight system. So green for good, yellow for let's slow down, and red for we need to stop and we need to reroute completely. And then whenever I also do, like I'll DM some games, I'll be a player in some games. There's also a consent sheet that was created that has been pivotal, honestly. It's been really nice to know upfront so I don't accidentally stumble into somebody's like triggers or somebody's hard lines. Um, I actually just started a Monster of the Week campaign because my husband was like, I really want to play Monster of the Week. Can you please, please, please? I was like, yeah, sure. Okay, sure. So I got some friends together and sent out the sheets, and now I've got back what I know that I can't touch on when I'm creating the adventure, that kind of stuff.
That's
I
I
cool.
love it.
highly, highly recommend it. All you have to do is Google consent sheet TTRPG, and
Yes.
it's like the first thing that pops up.
Yes.
Yeah, eh, I think the world of D&D or the world of TTRPG, there's a lot of letters, guys. Um I think like it creates such a good avenue for storytelling because you really have to like focus on your exposition. You really have to focus on setting and ambiance and environment and everything. And I think that's a lot that can get forgotten in a storytelling process, especially
Mhm.
if like using the example of like my students, right? If they're telling a story of what happened to them in the hallway, right?
Mhm.
They will miss a lot of crucial points, right? Because they're just focused on what was said, And I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, but like, what was this person's like behavior, you know? Like, was there a warning that they were about to deck you in the face? Like,
Yeah.
what
Tone,
what
body
vibe did you
language.
miss, you know? And I think these sort of avenues are so good, especially because you said that you guys are also into like writing and stuff like that.
Mhm.
It's such a good avenue of like figuring out how to be seen from the outside perspective, because I think especially when creating stories it's so easy to get stuck in, like, I know exactly what this environment looks like, but it's always a good reminder to be like, okay, but the people around you don't. um
Mhm.
what do you think are some of the biggest challenges in making a like podcast about an adventure like this? Like, what are some things you guys are more aware of than maybe somebody who is like at home would be aware of?
Our biggest beast is continuity. Um, so making sure that something we said in the first episode translates to something we said in episode 40,
Mhm.
because we are literally on episode 40 right now. We have a backlog of what is released so that in case something happens, because life is life,
Mhm.
Life
we
is
don't
life.
have to miss a week. Um, but Ariana keeps this like incredible continuity doc, because she's the one who does the editing of like our audio and stuff. And so she'll just write little bits that we've said, made sure that they like match up with what's happened prior. And we do re-record sometimes if we need to, if a line comes out wonky, if we just didn't like the way we said something, or if we said something that wildly contradicts something that's already been said, because that has also happened before. Because sometimes we get on a roll and we just talk.
Right.
Mhm.
Um, I that is truly the biggest thing is our continuity. Um, but we've got a pretty good handle on it. I think we know our story as well. So sometimes it's just like the little bits.
What does a typical, like, do you guys, so like for the podcast, for example, we know that we film or record on Sundays, right? What does that kind of
Mhm.
schedule look like? How much time do you have to block out? Like, I'm always interested in the back end side of content.
Yeah. So we actually always record on Sundays as well. We record from 10 to 2 Eastern time. For Wayra, who's in Canada, I believe it's 11 to 3. But we record every single Sunday,
Yeah,
Nice.
whether
Sundays are
that be
just
an
a good day
episode.
to do things.
Truly. Yeah. We used to record at night, um, and we you can pinpoint the episode where that stopped, because Ariana and I would just be a slow descent into madness, and Wayra used to work nights. So they would be, like, alert, and we would just be
Slowly but
like I
surely.
said,
Yeah.
slow descent. There was one episode in particular where we had to redo the entire ending episode because Ariana and I were just talking. And Wei was like,
Mm.
"I think maybe we should, like, end this." And we were both like, "No, no, we're good, we're good." It's not good. It was not good.
Gotta listen to the people around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Friends don't let friends record while sleep deprived.
truly. It's almost as bad as when I recorded with pneumonia because we try not to miss, and I thought I was good. I was not good. I put Christmas music under an entire episode. Ariana had to sit me down and go, "Hey, Dusty, I think you're more sick than you think." And I was like, "No, I'm fine." Ended up going to the urgent care the next day, and they were like, "No, yeah, your left lung is completely filled with pneumonia."
Ooh.
And then I went to the hospital, and the fog broke, and I was like, "What was I thinking?" So
Oh my goodness.
Honestly, but that's the best kind of content because it's like, no, I'm good. I'm good. I'm fine. And then the most left field thing.
Yeah.
unhinged things happen.
Yeah,
Kayla is the chaos gremlin of the
I
two of
am.
us.
Yeah, I am. I love it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Um, I had another question. It was there.
Gone forever. You're not
Hopefully
getting it
not
back.
forever.
You're not getting it back.
What are some points of storytelling that you think that like you struggle with doing? Like, what are some things that you're like, I always usually need help with this aspect of it?
When I write, I am very much of a details person. to the point where my like paragraphs of descriptors will be super long, and then the talking is just short sentences. So I struggle with like reining back and then pushing forward the dialogue, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So when
Mhm.
I write generally I write the stuff that I narrate when I DM. There are a few things that others will write, and I'm so grateful that they do, so that I don't have to do as much work on that front. Because it's really hard to DM and be a bunch of different characters and then
Yes.
also be yourself at the same time.
Yes.
But generally those long expositions I have to like either cut back or expand on things that I necessarily like. We really help each other in that aspect. A lot of the times we'll come to each other and be like, "Hey, this is what I've written.
Mhm.
Is it good? Is there something we should change?"
Mhm.
And we can edit and go from there. So I have a hard time with reining back because sometimes it'll just like explode out of me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm watching them watch me talk, and I'm like, "Oh, I should probably shut up now."
Oh, I'm losing them. Their eyes, they're going blank.
They're glazing. Oh no.
I mean, so in middle school, right, I used to write like scary stories and give them to
Mhm.
my friends in math class to read, which is why I was not very good at math and have not
Yeah.
regained that skill in the slightest. But one of my
Understandable.
friends he said something that I know he did not think too hard about. Like he just said it, but more than a decade later, it still sticks with me. And it's still something that I think about every time I'm writing anything. But I
Mhm.
gave him something and he looks at me and he goes, Stephanie, no one cares this much about what type of sink it is. And I was like, whoa. So every single time I go to write something, I'm like, is this my sink moment? Like, am I doing too much here?
So we actually have something like that. We call it in the weeds. Ariana and Weira are minute details people. Like they've created an entire system of magic that's like so detailed in the way that it's created, how it comes about, that kind of stuff. And they'll be talking, and sometimes I'm just like, "Hey guys, I think we need to come out of the weeds for a moment." Um, and I think there's a couple bloopers where they'll be like talking, and I'll just be like, "Hey, can we come back on the road, please?" Because they're just frolicking in the weeds. Um, so yeah, I think that's a writer issue. Is like
Yeah.
we get obsessed with these little details um, that nobody else cares about at the end of the day.
Yeah. It really
It's
is
so
just like
sad.
the sink moment. Cause I'm like, I think it's important for you to understand
Everything in the
Yeah.
kitchen sink.
everything in the kitchen sink, which
Mhm.
another little tangent. Our lovely editor will not enjoy the fact that I'm telling this story, but he had never heard the phrase. He had never heard the phrase like everything and the kitchen sink, right?
Okay.
And so when we went to Panera like a month or whatever ago, there's a cookie called the kitchen sink cookie, and it's just got like little bits of everything for desserts.
Mhm.
And he like had no idea what I was talking about when I was like, "Oh yeah, it's a kitchen sink cookie." Like you walk in knowing that there's gonna be because he asked me what was in it.
Mhm.
Goes on this whole like tangent about how I must be making that up, right? We're walking out into the parking lot of a different store later on, and there's an Amazon van, and it says like everything and the kitchen sink. And I pointed at it and I was like, this is the proof I'm not crazy. And he goes, why are you working with Bezos to make me look like an idiot? And it's
Oh, he's cutting this. Oh, he's so cutting
Obsessed.
this.
this will never see the light of
Obsessed.
day.
It will never see the light of day.
I can just imagine the little and cut.
But yeah,
You
exactly.
won't
Nope,
make
we don't
me
need
look
this.
dumb. um But yeah, so the kitchen sink moments I think are even like in the podcast and stuff because we don't script anything other than intros and outros, and then we'll have
Mhm.
like points that we want to go through or whatever.
Mhm.
But there's so many times that like if I have to edit a video, I'm like, okay, I feel like I didn't need to do this. And it's usually me, right? Because we are very aware of who we are as people, who we are as
Mhm.
content creators. I'm a yapper. Kayla is like, she will sit there like that the entire episode and be perfectly content,
Yep.
right?
Fair.
But for all of our audience members, like I always end up feeling like I need to put a disclaimer at the end. Like Kayla is not being held hostage. I am not stopping Kayla from talking more if she
Kayla
wanted
is
to.
here
I'm here.
of their own volition.
Yes.
You know, because I'm like at the end of every episode, especially when we do captions and stuff, like the software I use literally tells me how many like clips each one of us has, and mine will be like
Yeah.
2,000 and something, and Kayla's will be like 500. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm the worst. Like, I never let Kayla talk. And then every single, like, on a weekly basis, she's getting a text from me, like, am I interrupting you too much? Like, do you want more time? And she's like, no, I'm living my best life.
I love
I
it.
am also a professional yapper.
Yeah.
So I understand that struggle.
Who's
We've
your
we've
who's
had
your
moments.
designated listener?
I think we all take turns
Mhm.
between Ariana and Weira. I apparently love the sound of my own voice.
And I don't. And that's the problem because then I'll go to edit and I'm like, this bitch won't stop talking.
It's so funny because we all have those moments where we're like, I hate hearing my own voice. I don't have those as much because I'm the type of person who will do something, never listen to it again. I
The
used to
dream,
sing
truly.
I used to sing every Christmas on a TV show locally here. And I would never
Lore
watch
drop.
it.
All right.
No, yeah, there's a lot of we call it dusty lore because there's a lot of just random things that I did.
Love it.
I used to write for horror podcasts. So the No Sleep podcast, I wrote a couple stories for them. Listened to it
Nice.
once, never again. It's just I don't know what it is. I cannot I physically can't.
Yeah,
Whereas
we don't have
they'll
time for regret here.
yeah, truly. I'm like, oh, it came out of my mouth. We're good. It's fine. Whereas they'll listen to things and they'll be like, oh, I hated the way I said that. And I'm just like, ride or let it ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't need to
Unless they said
listen.
something completely horrendous, I will catch it in the moment and be like, let's not.
Yeah.
Let's redo that.
It's
But
yeah. It's really bad how often in life I just go like, fuck it, we ball and just send it. I'm like, cause and that's the thing, like kind of segueing into one of the topics we were gonna talk about, like it's bewildering to me, right? How many people, especially in content creation or on the internet or just in life, are like, oh, I didn't think about it when I said that thing, right? But the thing that they said was like a
Mhm.
racial slur. I'm
Yeah.
like, I never have to worry about messing up
Yeah.
and just saying a
Yeah.
racial slur. I have
Truly.
to
Like
worry
that
that I'm
doesn't
like
even enter
dropping
my
lore.
brain.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm have to worry that
I
I'm
have to worry
dropping
about
lore.
doxing myself.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I have to worry that I said something really like in a random accent because I do that sometimes. Having to switch between British and American for what 6 hours every Sunday is a wild trip. And sometimes my voice will just go, now you're Australian actually. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's a
I love that.
neurodivergency.
Mhm.
But segueing into that topic of being fruity on the internet, right? How
Mhm.
important is it to not only represent well, like the community well, but also to see and push for more diversity? Because I know that that's something like Kayla and I was just mentioning this to Kayla a couple weeks ago when I was trying to create a silly little content thing for Instagram. I was trying to find like pictures of people reading, like in media, like shows, TVs,
Mhm.
anything like that, but from like different demographics. And I was like, Kayla, like it's really concerning that they're all just like white characters. Like they're all just white girl characters like Rory
White women.
Gilmore's
Yeah.
and the Bells of the world, right? And there's nothing wrong with these
Mhm.
characters. But I was like, I should not have to be the one to point out, like, hey, we
You're
got
missing a few
other
shades.
Yeah. So that's a big thing in D&D specifically, but
Mhm.
TTRPGs at large. Predominantly, when you see these sorts of things in media, it is generally speaking
very
cis
white.
het white males.
Mhm.
Um, they have dominated the
Everything.
scene since Gary Gygax created
Created
D&D
it, yeah.
basically. Um, and that was one thing that I realized being somebody who realized that they were non-binary a little bit later in life, but realized that they were bisexual very early in life. I didn't see
What was your awakening?
me.
Sorry.
So it's very funny because this is my name, but Looney Tunes Back in Action, there was a woman called Dusty.
Yeah, there
And she
was.
came down from the ceiling in this like blue sequin dress, and I was like, oh, okay.
In love. Nice.
I don't know what this means, but it's there, I guess. Um yeah, and just, women.
Women.
Yeah.
Women.
Amen.
Um and so I realized that like while there were people who looked like me in looks, there weren't people who thought like me. Who struggled with the same things I struggle with. And it can be hard to go through those types of things and not have something to look at.
Mm-hmm.
Up until recently, the phenomenon of female presenting people only being able to play males in video games. You love doing this thing, but it's hard to get fully into it because you can't see yourself in it.
Right.
Um, and that was a big thing when we decided to create this project. We wanted it to be queer led.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted it to be, we are queer. We are not apologetic about it. Our characters are queer. The people in this world are queer, and that is okay. Um, they have disabilities. They have these things. They are real in a sense of their made believe, but they're grounded in reality.
Mm-hmm.
They're not these perfect effervescent beings that
Right.
descend from the heavens and then go through trials and tribulations. They are real and flawed and human. And we've had people who have come to us and said, I've never seen myself in a character before I started listening to your show. And that has been the biggest happiness, I think, of this
Yeah.
whole project. Obviously, I love playing with my friends. I love being able to sit down every Sunday and play D&D and have the time of my life, but to see people come to us and be like, "Hey, I saw myself in Ivy. I saw myself in Varys. I saw myself in Alara," and it was incredible. I could literally go on forever about it. I could start crying and sobbing, but
We're not going to stop you. This is a safe
No
place.
judgment. Yeah. We listen and we don't judge.
Yeah, especially Kayla. Listen.
Yeah.
Look at her. I'm
You'll know
telling
if
you,
I'm judging.
she will sit
You'll
like
know if
that
I'm
the whole
judging.
time.
Yes, I will.
Yeah, I think so. When it comes to D&D or those type of games, right? Obviously, every Sunday is for your podcast. Do you play other games? I know you mentioned the Monster of the Week.
Mhm.
But do you play other games, or does it become a problem with like burnout if you're in too many campaigns?
It's not a problem of burnout because this is something I genuinely love to do. If I could make money doing this, I would in a heartbeat.
Mhm.
That's obviously the goal. Um, I do a Monster of the Week, which is a completely different system altogether. It's a D6
is.
system. And that is more of a modern take on things. I have played one shots. I've done a couple other streaming things. I love doing it. And honestly, as long as I don't have to be behind the scenes on some of these things, I'm like, I'll be there. I'll show
Yeah.
up. I'll have fun. I don't think I could do another D&D podcast and like be in the background of it because this takes up so much of my time.
Right.
Um, and this always has to be like my number one.
Mm-hmm.
But I love doing it. I love playing. I love creating silly little guys and having fun with my silly little characters and my silly little friends and yeah.
I love that.
But like you said, scheduling is the worst
Yeah.
thing. Scheduling
Yeah,
is
it
the
is.
BBEG of
Yeah. Yeah, it
games.
is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Trying to schedule a bunch of adults to get together and play pretend is so hard.
It's so hard. For what reason?
Truly.
What was
Yeah.
the reason?
Um,
What? Okay. Unrelated. Jokey question. Who
Okay.
is the biggest dice gremlin out of the three of you?
I think it's a tie between Rayra and I. I
I was like, I
have
see two sets right there.
Yeah, and then there are others you don't see. And then I've got so I have these like little acrylic shelving things. They're like these shelves that are just big enough. We just moved, so I don't know where any of my shit is.
Same.
Amen.
But they're just big enough to hold like an entire set of dice.
Yeah.
And I have two of these and they're full. I have to buy more.
Mm-hmm.
I have every color. I've got like so these are my Ivy dice.
You have to
Uh,
have character specific die. Like it's very
Mhm.
important.
So these are my Ivy dice. They're different shades of blue.
I love that.
They actually sent these to me with Ivy in mind. So that was
Oh,
really because she also listens to the show. And then I do a Curse of Strahd campaign.
ooh,
My friends, and these are my Curse of Strahd dice character because she's a cleric of the light.
I love that. Love that.
Yeah.
I encourage the dice gremlinness.
I own one set.
I've
I've never been
not
able
going
to
to talk
use
about
them.
how many. I won't talk about how many I have.
Yeah.
We're not gonna.
Yeah.
We're not gonna
Well,
talk about that.
every year when I go to like Florida has a really big convention that happens in South Florida every summer. And every year that I go, I'll always see the people with, all of the fancy like dice towers and the stuff. And I'm like, man, this would be fun. I've never been able to use my dice. So I'm like,
We'll get you there. We'll get you there.
Mhm.
We'll get you there.
Honestly, I got
go.
really frustrated because I've been wanting to play Strahd for so
That's the
long.
spooky vampire one.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the spooky vampire one. I started it during COVID and then it just fell off and we made every wrong decision ever. So it was pretty good that it didn't continue. I posted on Threads. I was like, please somebody do a Strahd campaign for me. And an incredible, incredible person said, yeah, I'll do it. And so he's currently running the Strahd campaign. And so sometimes it's just desperation of reaching out into the
Maybe
ether
I'll
and
do that. I'll be like, guys,
Yeah.
somebody
listen.
will respond. Truly.
I'll put out a thing and say, listen, I need a murder mystery campaign. Right? My birthday's on Halloween. The fact that I have not been able to have a
Oh,
D&D like spooky time is really
yeah.
upsetting.
And we have a Discord server filled with people too who also are just looking for campaigns too.
Nice.
So that's another avenue is join our Discord server.
There you go.
Yeah. Send me the link and I'll put the link in the bottom
In
of
the
this.
description, I was just thinking that. Yeah.
You
Like
got
if you
it.
want to
Yeah.
find people to play D&D with.
So because you guys, well, I'm saying because obviously, because I'm used to people having all these games in like different places, as in like you're in one place and whatever. What like software do you enjoy using? You obviously use like physical dice. Do you do like some people have like all of their character journals online while others will do them like Etsy is a
Physically.
minefield.
Oh my gosh, yeah. The coolest things on Etsy for
Yeah.
character sheets.
Really been trying to avoid it.
Falling down that hole
Yeah.
is
It's dangerous.
financially in ruins.
Yes.
I will never
I'm like,
financially recover from D&D.
I'll never get over it.
Correct. Correct.
Just as a side note, there's these little mystery bags that you can get. They're like, I think it's called like Akbar's D&D dice or something. It comes with a set of dice, it comes with a dice bag and an ability coin. I am addicted to these things. I got these mushroom dice from one of them.
Mushrooms.
They're little mushrooms, they're different colors, so it's a rainbow. And then I got like this bardic inspiration coin.
Yeah.
And just a cute little here's one. And then just like a cute little D&D bag. Obsessed with them.
I need.
Hey, love.
What? I need, okay? I don't have enough.
It's a problem. But to answer your question, I'm basic. I use D&D Beyond.
Nice.
I don't use the dice roller because it has a personal vendetta against me.
Agreed.
Every time I have used an online dice roller, I never roll above a 10. I don't know what it is.
They feel it.
I guess
They
it's just
feel the desperation.
homophobic.
Yeah, exactly. It's just homophobia.
It's just homophobic. So I use physical dice. And plus, I've got all of these nice physical dice anyways. Why wouldn't I use them?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you do your character journal online and stuff?
I do. I'll sometimes I have a notebook that I carry with me um everywhere I go. I actually wrote my first book by hand in these notebooks.
So
So I always yeah, right. I developed ulnar nerve
yeah,
entrapment from it, but
I was
it
like
was
that. I started doing that, and then I was like, I think I might love myself a little more than this.
I did not. But yeah, I always keep a notebook with me. So if I think of something, I'll just jot it down super quick and then translate it into some form of media online. But
Mhm.
it's unfortunately my stuff is like scattered around to different places.
Problem with a move. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But I know where she's going. I've been playing her for almost 3 years now. It is very easy to get into her mindset.
Right.
So I don't necessarily keep a bunch of notes on her. She's like an extension of my personality at this point.
That's
Mm.
fair. That's fair. How do you for those of us who have not been able to pick up accents, how do you
How do you?
flip into how do?
So a little bit more lore. When I was little, I was obsessed with Harry Potter.
Mhm.
Rite of
All of my
passage.
friends were truly a rite of passage. All of my friends were, and at recess we would role play as characters from Harry Potter.
Mhm.
So I learned how to do a British accent in second grade. Um, it was just the easiest accent for me to do, and I wanted her to have a different accent because at first I was worried about all three of our voices sounding too similar,
Mhm.
which ended up not being the case at all. I was just like, what if? And so she's British.
I'm
I
suddenly realizing how old I am right now
why?
because Harry Potter came out when I was not in second grade. I was very much older than that. Like I
How's
was
your joints feeling?
they're sore. It's rough. It's rough. I'm
It's rough out
achy.
here. Listen,
I
I
don't have
understand that.
Megan knees. I have Rice Krispie knees now. Like
Yeah, I definitely was obsessed with Harry Potter, and then grew up to find out that she is a Dementor.
Oh, truly. Oh my God. I know. I was like, I wanted to put a little disclaimer, like, fuck JK. But
That's how we
always.
feel right now with our Percy Jackson rereads.
Yeah.
oh my God. Oh my God. I know.
Because I'm like,
It's like,
dude, you
We
couldn't.
can't have shit. We can't have shit.
I know. Can these people stop being cartoon villains for like a moment?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
like at the
oh my
bottom of all
God.
of our episodes where it says like where because we normally put like a link of like where to find this person or where to buy the book or like whatever. Under all of those episodes now it just
Yeah.
says like find them at a library or a thrift store or like online secondhand.
Yeah.
Don't give this person money at all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
I just, yeah.
it's
Yeah.
It's sad. It's hard.
it's
And it really sucks
disheartening.
because some of these, yeah, some
You
of
know,
these authors were like formative in my own
Enchantment.
writing
Yeah.
style.
they
Yeah.
created parts of my personality
Hmm.
and then are confused
10%.
when my personality is like, hey, we hate that.
I was putting together a list of authors that like inspire me as a creator and as a writer. And I was like, I need to look these authors up and make sure nothing happened in the meantime.
Well, okay.
Right.
My heartbreak, right? You would assume my heartbreak was J.K. Rowling or Rick Riordan or anything like that. No, my heartbreak was James frickin' Patterson because he came out when I was little with a
Mhm.
series of Maximum Ride books, and they were my favorite all time. I remember going to like Borders, buying the first one with my stepdad at the time, right?
Mhm.
And immediately needing the rest of the series, right? He did one thing right in terms of this series that a lot of authors don't do or aren't like self-aware enough to do. But when he came
Mhm.
out with what was supposed to be the ending, right? It was hated. the entire fandom was like, this is garbage. And he wrote a new book and he was like, this is the ending. I have yet to read that one.
Yeah.
Because I know there won't be a third try. But
Fair
he,
enough.
like a couple years ago, came out and said, like, it was so hard to be a white man author in the space now.
Totally.
And I was
Uh-huh.
like, I was
Mhm.
like,
So hard.
dude.
Read the
I
room, please.
I was like, dude, I was rooting for you.
It is so much easier to keep your damn mouth shut.
Yeah.
It's so much easier.
It's free.
It's free. It clears your skin. It waters your crops.
Yeah.
Like
One day
yeah.
we'll have an episode where we just talk about the racism within the Latinx community and all of that, and that'll be a ride.
Yeah. To
Y'all can't see
jail.
Steph's face, but she is like ready. She's ready to swing.
It's so
Like
it's
I've
so
already locked and
tiresome.
loaded it. Like
I actually already wrote it down. I was just waiting for you to give me the green light.
this is my episode now, actually.
But it's not hard to be a good person.
No.
It's tough having any semblance of empathy, critical thinking, noggin. You know,
Which
like
sort of
just
feels
having one person on your team that's like, hey,
Yeah.
maybe you shouldn't do that.
yeah.
hey.
Which
Hey, maybe.
this sort of feels like a good segue into like how do you as a queer podcast, like how do the three of you address like any hate that you get? Because you know the neckbeards be neckbearding sometimes.
True.
You know what's funny? We actually really haven't received all that much. If we have, we haven't seen it. Um like 30% of our demographic is males between 40 and 60. It is a wild thing.
Let's go, grandpas.
We see the demographics because we use Spotify
Yeah.
for podcasters or Anchor or whatever it's called
Yeah.
now to release our episodes on like every platform available. And so it grabs all of these different demographics and shoves it into this really nice to look at like pie graph. And it's like we get people from all over the US. All over
Mhm.
the US. I think we saw one for the Virgin Islands at one point. And it's like most of it is like our age, like 20 to 40. We've got some non-binary people, some female people, some male people, but like I'm not lying. 20 to 30% are like males between 40 and 60. And it's very interesting. And I just want to meet those men.
I want to
They're the
know.
ones they're the ones like that grandpa that was seen at the Chapel Roan concert, like singing
Yes.
Pink Pony Club.
Pink Pony Club.
Yeah.
I would fight
Like the
for
men,
those men.
truly. Like the men who are like, yeah, we love Ivy. Like, go funky little lesbian. Like, what is happening right now?
I was told you guys hate us.
Yeah.
Yeah. But all that to say is like at the end of the day, you cannot change another person's opinion of you.
Mm-hmm.
And we understand that what we're doing is controversial in some circles.
Mm-hmm.
Not my
If a
circle.
certain not our circle, but in some of them. And at the end of the day, if you don't like it, that's fine. We're
Yeah.
not making it for you if you don't like it.
Right.
We're making it for the people who want to see themselves in something. We're making it for the people who love being queer or who want to experience queerness.
Mm-hmm.
And just listen to a fun story too. Sometimes it doesn't even have to be that we're queer. We tell a good story. We have good characters. We have fun, and that joy can be infectious.
Right. And it shows, like, even in the first 3 episodes, like, the amount of fun that the 3 of you are having, it shows, like, tremendously because I'm, like, invested in these characters. I'm sitting there laughing and, like, oh my godding the entire time. And it just, like, the vocal stems just make me laugh because I'm like, yeah, that's really what it's like. Like, you get one and then that's it.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Ariana was we were just actually kind of talking about this a couple weeks ago. Ariana's like, people would never know how some of our serious moments have to be like cut up and put together because we're laughing
Yes.
in between certain things. Like we just did something that was so serious and like dark and serious, and we were laughing in between takes
Right.
or like in between things because we're also having the time of our lives even when it's, dark and depressing
Yeah,
and I'm
dark and
sobbing my
depressing.
eyes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's like you say, I love it because I've had moments where I'm just like sitting here and it's my character's turn and I'm immediately like traumatized and I'm like, oh my God, that's so great, but also fuck you. Why would you do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what was your introduction to D&D?
So my best friend Gabe came to me and was like, "Hey, I haven't been able to play D&D in a very long time. I want to run something. Will you please do it?" And I was a theater kid growing up. I don't know
That
if
tracks.
that
Pipeline.
reeks in the all of me.
Yeah.
That tracks. That
Pipeline
tracks.
is there.
Yeah,
It is
it
a very real and robust pipeline. Uh, reinforced galvanized steel pipeline.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Hey, can you I think you would like this, but I mainly want to play this." And I was like, "Sure, whatever." The first character I created was a Selkie bard. And we came up with this like dice roll system where periodically they would be like, "Hey, roll a d20, and if I got above a 10, I was fine. Below a 10, a seal feature would pop out." So
nice.
like for half of the one shot, I had a seal flipper.
Nice.
I love that.
And through that, I just fell in love with the medium. I fell in love with having fun in this space with my friends. And then COVID hit. This
Mhm.
was a couple years after I really started playing. And it got to a point where I was so depressed because I couldn't see my friends. And I
Mhm.
was like, "Hey, can we please just," I started joining almost everything I possibly could, trying to find a group to play with, trying to like play online. Um, And that's when I started that other project. That's where I met Ariana, and now I play it every week,
Which, speaking
and
of
I'm
that,
so happy about it.
it just occurred to me that your recordings are on Sunday.
Mhm.
It is Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah.
What
Nosy
y'all
much?
doing
We're meeting
Oh
today?
my
after this.
goodness.
We're meeting after this to do an episode.
Okay. Well, no, I
'Cause we
was
knew
I
that
was
this was
thinking more of
happening.
like courteousness because I was like, oh my
Oh,
God, they
shit.
said till 2.
No, you're good. No, you're good.
um,
They're just doing their own stuff. Ariana is, doing episodes, whereas writing for something that's coming up, so we're cool.
but
Okay.
all right. Um,
Um,
mhm.
question.
Mhm.
What did you think? Well, first of all, have you seen the D&D movie? And if so, what did you think? I loved it.
It is so much fun.
It is.
It is I came from it as somebody obviously who plays D&D, has
Mhm.
played it, knows too much about rules and things. I could see the people that were playing these characters around a table, the roles that they were making, the decisions they were making, and when a
Mhm.
role was successful and when it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
It was so good.
It was truly an incredible representation of how D&D stories
How
actually are.
and yeah, like how chaotic things get. Like you have the best
Mhm.
intentions and then one thing goes wrong and that's it. It just snowballs into absolute disaster.
Truly. The scene that really, like, I think about when I think about that kind of stuff is the scene where they're in, the Underdark or whatever they called it in the movie, and the one character steps on the bridge as the paladin is explaining this really complicated way to
Mm,
get through it, and then it falls apart.
yeah.
Like, that was a low roll.
Yeah. Yeah. 100 That was a natty one, like live in
That was a
action.
nat one, yeah.
You guys are adorable.
We're actually watching the, D&D movie next week, next Friday night with the Discord, because we do, like, little things every month with the Discord server, so that's what we're gonna do this month.
Nice. It's a
That'll be
good
fun.
Yeah.
movie.
I
If you haven't
seen
seen it, you should see it.
I haven't seen
It's
Mhm.
it.
enjoyable. It's enjoyable
You
even for
should see
people who
it.
haven't played D&D.
Or who know nothing about D&D.
Yeah. Yeah.
For Well, going into those who know nothing about D&D, what are some like tips you have for both a first-time player and then for somebody who maybe is like DMing for the first time?
So for a first-time player, um, if you can talk with your DM about any questions you might have, generally speaking, if you found the right DM, they are happy to answer questions, happy to help you build a character, talk about the things you like, and if they aren't, you should probably find a new DM.
Amen.
Uh, um, just have fun with it as a player. Go as crazy as you want, be as involved as you want, but make sure that you're having fun because at the end of the day, that's what this is about. Um, as for DM, same, have fun. You're creating a world for your players, but this is also a time for you to have fun.
Mhm.
Find a table that is going to vibe with you. Find a story that's going to vibe with you. Don't just pick a module because you feel like you have to. If you're inexperienced and you want to use a module, by all means use the modules. They're great. They're so much fun to do. But if you want, add a little bit of your own flavoring too, because you don't have
Yeah.
to follow them by law. And don't
No one
worry.
comes in and goes, "Excuse me, you deviated."
Yeah. And if they do, you
Check them
don't.
out.
Yeah.
What are
Yeah.
some on that note though, what are some like red flags that if somebody like joins a table and these things start happening?
If there's no lines and veils that like, if you don't have a list of things, like, that you're aware of. Sorry, I didn't mean to answer that question. It was just, like,
No,
the first
totally. That
things.
is actually correct. But at the same time, I have been in horror stories before where I've joined a table and I've been creeped on. The other players have just immediately started attacking my character. I've been
Sad
unfortunately
face.
been through the ring around. As a female presenting person in D&D spaces, you have to be so
So
careful.
careful.
So careful. Um, I have, like, been in a singular session before and immediately called my husband and been like, "Come pick me up. I can't do
Oh
this."
my god, in person.
In
Yeah.
person, yes. Yeah.
These hands are rated E for everybody.
It's I've had, long-term DM who suddenly started creeping on me. Um, every horror story, almost imaginable. The red flags for me are if they don't take what you want into consideration.
Mhm.
Like, obviously, you don't have to go by exactly what your players say, but if there is something that they're like, "I cannot do this. This is, like, my big thing," and the DM is like, we can still do it. It's fine."
Big
Make sure that you're
flag.
always comfortable with what's going on, whatever that looks like.
And
Sorry, I
if
was
you're
still
not,
stuck
it's
on the
okay to
horror
stop.
stories.
I literally could talk for hours about the horror stories, and I feel like every female presenting person and some male presenting people too have also had these horror stories. That is just the unfortunate reality of getting adults together.
It's a scary place out there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Maybe
it
I
Especially
is.
right
won't
now.
be posting on Threads.
No, truly, the we have, I'm sure you guys saw it when Ariana sent it. We have this little blurb that we send whenever people wanna work with us or we wanna work with people. That's just like, "Hey, we need to vibe on these things in order for this to move forward."
Mhm.
And if they're like, "No," then great, we part ways and that's it. And if they're like, "Yes," then great, we're holding you to that.
Mhm.
And if that confidentiality is broken, then we are out the door.
Right. And that's how it
And
should
that's how I
be.
approach all of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think that's incredibly important.
Go listen to, Tales of the Three.
Mhm.
Go listen.
You
Trust me.
can find us on like I said, on any podcast platform, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, I think like Good Pod, that kind of stuff.
Mm.
Socials, we are Rainbow Dice Club on almost every social. You can find me on Blue Sky and Threads as Dusty Penny with 2 Ys. Join our Discord.
All things of that
Come
will be
listen.
there. Thank you guys for listening and hanging out with us today. If you have not already, consider following us on Instagram at Margin Mavens. And as always, remember you are loved and that we appreciate you.